Hey guys, Lindsay here with LKD Communications and Orion Training Group Communications Cadre. And really quick, let's talk chest rigs. So these are the Onward Research Recce Rigs, Mr. Grantham's company. And what I'm going to show you guys here in this video is how to set up comms on either this chest rig, though these concepts will prove universal for pretty much every similar style chest rig on the market. So if you're stuck with a USGI chest rig that you were issued, fret not, because these same concepts you can take with you and apply to your specific gear case, whether that be Spiritus, Onward Research, T-Rex Arms, Mayflower, or what have you. All of these similar concepts there are going to apply no matter what specific type of chest rig you have. However, I'm going to show you guys on the Onward Research Recce rig. So, with that in mind, let's go top to bottom, describing how you would set up comms on a chest rig. So, this chest rig is fairly minimalist compared to a few other options on the market, and the reason for that being, it was designed in mind for the more long-range missions where you might be carrying a pack to sustain you for a week, 2 weeks. So on the back here, you'll notice that it is fairly slick. So up front, we have 2 sections of MOLLE here, as well as our 4 magazine pouches. Currently, we have our double-stacked Magpul mags, though they can fit AK mags, whatever type of mags that you may be running. So, I want to show you guys a couple of different radio pouch options here. In my radio pouch pile, we're going to be talking about a couple of different types of radio pouches. Here, we have our wing style of radio pouch. So what this allows us to do is not use up our MOLLE real estate on the front of our rig, which we do not have much of, and instead attach it on the back underneath the Velcro pad, which is a map pouch here, and then a Velcro pad that is removable, so you can attach danglers, wing pouches, as well if you wanted to pull that off completely and throw it on a plate carrier and use that recce rig as a placard. So, these are wing-style pouches. They have one such as this from Templar's Gear that's for a much larger radio. This one from Warrior Assault Systems that is for a smaller radio, you could tell. But it does allow you to adjust the depth of the pouch with the Velcro here. So if you're running something short, like a Yaesu VX-6 here, you can adjust that according to the size of your radio, or if you have something with a larger battery, you can then extend that piece. Here we have the Tactical Tailor radio pouch, and what's awesome about these guys is I'll go ahead and throw a radio in there for y'all so you could see this Anytone 878, a very popular digital and analog radio. It has MOLLE on the back, which then we attach with clips to our MOLLE on the front, and what that allows us to do is if I need to look at my radio screen to either diagnose errors or gather any data, see what frequency I'm on, or if I have a radio that allows me to send text or data or location packets through it, I could then pop this guy open, and that clear piece of plastic allows me to see the screen of the radio. So that is really neat, and you can see it here on this multicam Onward Research Recce rig is XTS 5000, and if I wanted to do any sort of diagnostics on the radio, pop that clip open and be able to view my screen there. And what's awesome about that too is if I have enough extra cable slack with my push-to-talk and my antenna, it allows me to not have to disconnect everything or pull that radio out of that pouch, which is pretty awesome, especially if you are wearing full kit and you're not wanting to have to download some of your kit and run the risk of losing, misplacing something, or things of that nature. Here we have the MOS Tactical Multicam Tropic pouch. On the inside of the pouch there is loop side Velcro, and there is a removable piece with the hook side that allows you to then adjust the depth of the radio pouch based on what radio you're running on the specific pouch. So, keeping up our theme with going top to bottom, let's talk about antenna choice. So the antenna that you're going to choose is one based on what frequencies you're using, what type of radio you're using, and 2, based on what your mission requirements are. If my mission requires me to go through things like dense vegetation, brush, in and out of vehicles, something like the cattails wearable antenna might be a really good choice for me here. So you can see here on how this multicam rig is set up. The cattails antenna is just run through the handy dandy Velcro cable management keepers here, which is a great feature of the Recce rig, and that allows me to just run it up the H-style harness and down to the other side to my radio. That's really awesome. So if I need to run something like a Nagoya short whip, or if I want it to be a super ultra giga chad and run a full long whip, which then I would fold down and then extend whenever I need to speak to somebody far away, you can still run that. However, because there's really not a lot of options for antenna relocation on your back, you're gonna have to run it towards the front of your body, which might be bothersome for some people, but if your mission dictates that you need a little bit more range on your antenna, might be what you have to run with. So I'm going to show you guys how to set up a push-to-talk. So there are a few different styles of push-to-talk. There's something like this from Com Gear Supply, which has interchangeable adapters, which allows me to not have to buy a whole new push-to-talk whenever I'm switching out radios. I could just buy these adapters and switch in between the different types of radios that I need. So right now I have it set up for my Yaesu VX-6, one of my favorite little daily driver radios. One of the most common push-to-talks that you'll find on the market is the Nexus U94 style with the side button. So Disco 32 is probably the most common supplier for those style of push-to-talks, though there are other people that manufacture them. So just something to think about. I'm going to show you guys on probably the most common radio I get coming through my classes is a Baofeng UV5R. So I have my Baofeng push-to-talk here, and as you can see, my radio is mounted on my non-dominant side of my kit, which allows me to keep a clear path to my pistol if I ever need to utilize it. So what do we do with all this extra slack? So first things first, I'm going to don the Recce rig and kind of show you guys how I like to set up my stuff. So what I like to do whenever I'm outfitting my comms for my kit is I'll don my kit and I'll place my hand where comfortably I can depress my push-to-talk, but for me, I like to go non-dominant side on that shoulder. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take in this built-in clip that comes with the Nexus style push-to-talk. I'm going to clip that comfortably there, and if I wanted to secure that to the Recce rig, I could always take some camo form tape, wrap it up, take some Ranger bands, wrap it up, zip ties, what so have you. And then what I'm going to do is run this cable to the radio with it in the pouch. However, you might notice a little something here. We have a lot of slack to work with. What we don't want is to have a loop of cable dangling off the side of us whenever we're walking through something like dense brush. So I'm going to do my best to keep that nice and tight to my body, to keep that cable from not only getting damaged, but from being eaten by the brush monster. Because the brush monster will liberate you from your kit if it is not securely fastened to your body. So I'm going to take this off. So the Recce rig has 3 loops of built-in webbing here, and what I'm going to do is create something called a tension loop. And what that allows me to do is not only take some length off of this cable, but it creates a loop so if the cable for some reason does snag on something, the loop will tighten and the cable will pull out, but the cable itself will not shear and break, the connector itself will not shear and break. So that's just a way to ensure that you're keeping up with the longevity and status of your equipment. So I'm going to take this connector side and I'm going to run it down, kind of use a little finesse here. There are some things that require strength and some things that require finesse, and this is one of those things that requires finesse. Run this connector through the 3 pieces of webbing here, and then all I'm going to do is I'm going to loop it back around and create that tension loop. And like I said, depending on how often you're changing out your comm stuff, or if you have the type of OCD where this stuff bothers you, you can always just camo form tape over it so you don't have to look at it. So, like I said, I'm going to run through the webbing here, and then I'm just going to come up, pull the extra slack out to right about where I put it, pull that nice and snug, and then I will create a tension loop, come up here, boom, up here, come up through here, pull it back around, and then I will thread it through the bottom one once more. Then once I have everything where I want it, I'm going to take the handy dandy cable keepers, go ahead and close that up, get my bow fang, connect that 2-pin style connector into there, and stick it into my pouch. And look at that. Nice, neat, nothing flapping around that could be eaten by a brush monster. I have a nice tension loop here, which will keep that cable from shearing if something does catch on it, and that is just how I prefer to wire up my push-a-talks. Take a look at the different ways that these recce rigs are set up. Each one is set up a little bit different. This guy has a GP pouch here, another GP pouch here, our 4 mags, and this is the Onward Research Simp pouch with the built-in elastic webbing that allows you to run a spare tourniquet. If you're running this as your first line kit, I would highly recommend having some form of medical on you at all times. I typically will always use my battle belt, which has my IFAK, but if I am rolling out on a mission, whenever it's not just me, I will take my dangler here and throw an extra med kit in there, and then the shock cord at the bottom allows me to attach an extra tourniquet. So just giving you guys a couple ideas on how you might want to set up your chest rig or equipment that you can add to your chest rig to greatly expand its capabilities. So for me, on my setup here, I have, as I showed you guys, a cattails antenna that runs along the H-style harness here. I have a comm gear supply push-to-talk, and same as I showed you with the other one, I ran it along the 3 pieces of webbing here, and that runs into my MOS Tactical wing style radio pouch here, and then the extra cable that came with the comm gear supply style push-to-talk is pretty much just scrunched in there. That's one downside with having a push-a-talk that was made for running alongside of a police kit, is you do have a lot of extra cabling. I'm sure if I wanted to, I can order something shorter, but for me, the capability of being able to change out radios by just changing the adapters is something that I greatly value. So I have my cattails antenna here running into my Yaesu VX-6, and that's attached with a BNC style connector, so I'll go ahead really quickly and get that set up for you guys. So that is clicked in. That radio is, like I said, a wing style pouch, and have another Templar's gear radio pouch here that has shock cord, kind of similar to the style of a high-speed gear taco pouch that allows me to throw a variety of radios in. Should mission dictate me to carry a different radio than what I have. If I wanted to, I could possibly run a dual comm setup where I'd move, one of these push-a-talks to the other side, or have both on the same side and then be able to run 2 radios at once. So that's just something to think about here. I have something that's very specific to my use case in my chest rig, and that is a roll of electrical tape. So for in the field, building antennas, cables, stuff like that, kit repair, something that's very useful that I use pretty much every time I'm out in the field. And then I have my Gerber cable dog here. What this is a $500 set of crimpers for Cat 5 cable and a knife with a driver and a few bits in it. So this was given to me by somebody, so I have a little bit of a sentimental reason to keep this on my kit, but I do use it fairly often, and it does come with a nifty M4 front sight adjusting tool built in. So for me, when I was in, this is something that I would use pretty much every time I went out into the field. So for you, you may want to use that spare Molly real estate to attach, another pouch for more magazines, or if you wanted to carry something like an Nalgene on you. But for me, this is what I carry in my recce rig. So the big question is, what radio do I carry in my recce rig? The short answer is, it depends. So I'll run something like my Yaesu VX-6 if my mission dictates. I'm only going to run, analog radio just for peer-to-peer comms. So what I love about it, it's submersible and it has such a small form factor. All thrills, no frills, pretty much all of the basics you need for a really good analog radio. I could also run my Motorola if I need to run something that is encrypted, or it could run an Anytone 878 if I wanted to run something that has the DMR capabilities as well as APRS without having to carry any other stuff with me in order to expand on the feature set of the radio. Alright guys, so that was a quick rundown on how you could possibly set up communications on your chest rig. And if you liked the video, don't forget, go ahead and hit the like button, hit the subscribe button if you're feeling extra generous. More videos in the same vein of this to come soon. So if you go ahead and hit the link in my bio, you can see my online classes listed through Orion Training Group. I have an intro class, which is a day 0 class. I don't know anything about comms. If most of what I said to you sounds like Greek, you might want to go ahead and sign up for one of those classes. If you're somebody that's a little bit more advanced and might want to learn about how to integrate communications in a squad environment with multiple people, go ahead and sign up for my squad communications class there as well. And a little bit of mom advice. Brush your tongue. Your tongue needs to be brushed. Thank you. No, cut that out.